everybody. Welcome to Beyond the Struggle. I'm Jeff Monroe, and this is Jason Blackledge.
What's up, guys?
Welcome to part one of our cast today. We're going to be joined by Matt Corley from our Abbeville location.
How we doing?
Hey, man. Good to see you, man.
You too, bro.
Matt, you are working with our facility in Abbeville, correct? Okay, what you do there, bro?
Well, a little bit of everything, but mainly education. So teach education to the guys and girls 2 hours a day.
2 hours a day. Fun stuff.
Oh, yeah, man.
It's every day?
Usually Monday, Tuesday. Wednesdays, I do a little marketing on the road, mainly on the other side of the river.
So for people that would be seeing this, that doesn't know what the other side of the river is, what does that mean, the other side of the river?
That's different with us.
Yeah.
On the other side of the river is West Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
So for me, that's going to be Lafayette,
Lake
Lake Charles area, Alexandria. I'll pop up to Alexandria every once in a while. Spent, was it 2 weeks ago? I was in Marksville. Hanging out with some POs, which was pretty fun. Usually they're talking to me, and I got to talk to them this time, so that was different for me,
You like the marketing aspect of it?
I do, man. I've realized that I get to do the two funnest things in the treatment field is one, teach education, and two, hit the road and just talk to people,
So education is fun.
I enjoy it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How'd you get into it, man? Just look, why don't you tell me a little bit of tell us a little bit of your background, kind of how you got into this field, or even, got to working with us at Woodlake too, man, and in kind of growing into this education role, Tell us a little bit about that.
So, this go around, so next month I'll make 3 years.
Oh, congratulations,
Thank
man.
you. And when I got sober this time, I went through Abbeville. Okay. When I got out of Abbeville, I like normal folks. Well, not normal folks. I got a job I didn't like. I think that's key to staying sober for some reason.
Yeah.
The first job, that's
humility,
it.
man.
Yeah.
If you don't like it,
humility,
and you keep it, I feel like you're gonna get some time.
Yeah, we were talking the other day, and my first job in recovery was stocking boxes at Walmart. I did not like that job.
He even broke his ankle to get out of it.
Well, no,
Oh, that was
that
the
was the
next
second
job. Yeah,
that was the
he
second
broke his
job.
ankle.
I was working at a plastics plant. Press a button, make a part. Press a button, make a part. Machine break, fix machine. Press a button, make a part.
Robotic, huh?
Yeah. And ended up getting a job at an assisted living facility.
Oh,
As a director of facility management.
Been there.
Yeah, man, it was great. It actually gave me an opportunity to make amends with my grandparents who are no longer here.
Oh, wow.
I like to say I had 104 grandparents at that time.
Oh, yeah.
And what that job did for me was every seventh weekend, I had to work the weekend. So it gave me an opportunity to have a day off the week before and the week after. And I had known, and it was proven to me that if I gave it back, I got to keep it. So I would go spend the day at Abbeville and just kind of hang out with Faith, sit in group, and then teach the little bit of education that I knew. Just kind of run
Faith, not Danielle?
Danielle was my IOP counselor.
Oh, okay.
Faith was my
Look, because if you don't mention Danielle,
bro.
she's gonna get you, bro.
Look, man, that's the two first women I've ever trusted in my life.
Yeah,
So,
they're pretty awesome.
I love them. I love them to death. And the fact that I'm working with them and for them is cool. So I go in there one day, and this was last year, about February of last year. So it's been about a little over a year, and Crystal Flowers was a counselor there, and she wasn't feeling well, so she asked me to sit in her group. And then halfway through the group, she's like, "You need to come work with us." I was like, "Hell no!"
I don't want to do this for a
Right?
living. Yeah.
I love my job. I get to hang out with old folks all day.
Yeah. So you weren't the person who got out of treatment and says, "I got to go work in treatment." Like
No.
you weren't that person.
No.
Oh man, I got to be a counselor.
Yeah, we talk about that often. How many people get out of treatment, and the first thought is, I'd be a great counselor.
Yeah, I can do this.
I did 4 assignments. I'd be a great
That's
counselor.
the last place I wanted to
I
go.
was the
back.
leader of my group,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Community leader.
Yeah.
House leader or whatever. Yeah, absolutely.
So I left there and I was like, hard no. I'm not doing
Yeah.
it. And for 3 days, man, I couldn't let it. It just wouldn't leave my mind. And I called up Faith and I said, "Hey, look, if I get my CIT, can I come work with y'all?" And she's like, "Absolutely."
Yeah.
So fast forward to July 1st is when I started. And I started out. They hired me on as a tech just to get me in the door. And I started teaching education. It's funny how I remember having. So when I get the job, I'm an alcoholic. I'm gonna give it everything I got to fault. I'm watching Kevin James in my living room on YouTube.
Oh, that was during COVID. Was that during
Well, it's the stuff that y'all had filmed.
Oh, yeah, on the YouTube channel.
Just to kind of get some ideas, refresh my brain of what he used to say. And my fiance walks in and she's like, "What are you watching?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Man, this is the guy that kind of
watching game film, man.
Started it all for me,
taking notes, watching game film.
And that's how it started, man. And I got there and I called Kevin a couple of times. He's like, "Matt, look, just be yourself and repetition."
Yeah.
He's like, "I didn't know what I was doing when I started this, and I surely didn't know. I knew the steps and I knew the book.
Yeah.
And the best advice he gave me was, if you just reference the book, you'll be fine."
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I did. And I'll tell you what, man. I was talking this about a guy that I talk to a lot, and teaching that book has made that thing come to life.
Yeah.
Like things that I've missed,
Yeah, man, like we have a lot of similarities in like how we got started at in this business with Woodlake and stuff, because I started out as a tech too, and I did like facility management, but I also did education for a good little period of time. Yeah.
Right.
And one of the things that I always worried about is like we kind of go through this little period of seeing him do education, and so like I had to make sure I don't want to act like him, I don't want to seem like him, but it's kind of hard not to like have some of those things correlate, because it's just a different messenger, but it's the same message, right? And so, I would like do my best or try my best not to like sound like him, but you can't help it, especially when you're around him 24/7 a day, like I was, and then like not have some type of little different quirks. But what do you like, going through that, and like, I guess we were talking a little bit earlier before we started the podcast, is that you went through there in 2012 and like had him as like your education director, and now you're like an education director, so that's
right.
pretty cool shit, bro.
It's awesome, man. It's wild how when you just kind of let God do his thing, what he'll do with you. I remember going there in 2012, and I told my dad this. I was like, "I'm going to leave here and be able to drink on the weekends." I know.
Yeah.
Right? I had no idea about recovery.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about any of this stuff.
Yeah.
And this was when insurance got to keep you for longer than 28 days.
Oh, yeah.
So
well, see, we were talking about that too. We kind of talked about how like the industry's changed. When I started, it was state funded. Like you could go pay $40 and go to treatment. And then the commercial insurance paid for like 90 days. Yeah. So you were there.
Days.
You were there for 72 days.
72 days with
Nice.
Kevin James.
Yeah.
I remember when that man.
That's a tough one there, bro.
When he first told me I didn't love my family.
Yeah.
I wasn't. I was ready to fight.
Right.
Right.
When you don't understand what are you saying, yeah,
Right.
man.
But then when he explained it, I remember when new admits would come in, and I'd be like, "Oh, today's the day."
Yeah, it's Monday. Today's the day.
Yeah, he's gonna get them.
Yeah.
He's not gonna be focused on me anymore, and it was great to watch everybody's response to that was the same. But then, what does your actions show? Well, you're right. And that's a tough pill to swallow when the truth hits you in the face like that. That I could say it, but I'm not showing it.
Yeah. So like, whenever you're like doing education, what do you how is like your presence, did you do the same thing where you watch all these videos and you watch the Joe and Charlie tapes,
Yeah.
and you try to get all this information, like what's your experience been when you've gotten in front of the rooms and are actually providing this recovery dynamics and education to the clients?
When I first started, I'm willing to bet that people were probably like, "Oh my God, this sucks."
Yeah, that's what we all think. Yeah.
Because I had a notebook, I
Mhm.
referenced the notebook, and it was like just reading off the notebook.
Just reading the
you know?
notebook. Yeah.
Flashcards.
And finally, I realized, wait a minute, there's a whole book. Why do I have these notes?
Yeah.
So it kind of just started to flow into getting vulnerable, like using the counselor aspect when to get personal.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've learned is these guys, when they realize you're standing up there and you think like them and you
Mhm.
used to act just like them,
Yeah.
they're hooked.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, what? He was like that? I remember a guy, Paul, used to tell me, dude, I thought you owned the place,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And then you started to speak about how you used to
Mhm.
be in education. And I said, man, I want to be like that. I got to
Yeah.
do like that,
Mhm.
right? I remember the first day it came out, all right? It didn't come out the same way Kevin did it, but I'm teaching the triangle, unity,
Mhm.
service,
Yeah.
recovery. And if you do these 3 things every
Yeah.
day, you'll go to sleep sober.
So
Right?
yeah, it kind of came
And I
out.
went, oh,
Sober.
that was Kevin.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I know,
Yeah.
man. I used to get little bits and pieces where I would say something, and then I had a little like laugh, and it would, hey, and somehow, some way, that little smirk would come out, and I'm
Yeah.
like, where did that come
Oh,
from?
man.
But it's difficult sometimes not to try to, when somebody does something so well, right? You have a tendency to want to like copy that because you want it to come across the same
Yeah,
way,
of course.
right? I mean, just like Jason, wanting to copy me as a counselor.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
that's
And
I bet.
and
listen to
my,
this guy.
so it was like, look, you can't be the counselor I
Wait, you
am.
counseled?
I was,
Oh, my
yeah,
goodness.
yeah,
yeah,
man.
they've
For
let
years.
Jeff do all
Mhm.
kind of stuff to figure out what he was best at, huh?
Yeah, but
Um,
I'm good at so many things,
That's
You are.
right?
I give
It's
you that.
like, you got to try to find what you're best at, but
if we could only clone you about 6 times,
yeah, they
right?
say that a lot, but
Mhm.
I'm just here trying to be me,
Yeah,
Jason, not
I get it.
anybody else.
Look, not to pump your head up, but that was the best.
Yeah, please don't,
That was the
man.
best
Please
CPR
don't.
class I've ever been a part
Right?
of.
Yeah, there you
Look,
go.
By far.
I even
By
teach
far.
CPR, right? And
Yeah,
now look, you know how to save lives and
I
you
do.
feel comfortable
You're
doing
right.
it, right?
yeah.
It's crazy though, right? Like we're just talking about like just all the different things we do and what working for Woodlake has kind of done for me and the avenues I've been able to go down and learn and be able to provide just different things, even like CPR, man, getting trained as a instructor and doing that and helping the staff members, right? Just with that type of
Yeah.
education and stuff like that. It's crazy like where your life can go just based off the beginning,
Yeah.
say, hey, I'm starting a job, right? And then that job turns into a career, and then that career grows into like a passion. And I think the passion comes from, working at Woodlake and helping those that just had the same struggles. And the fact that we just got a place like that people can come to and that we can help,
Yeah.
is pretty damn cool.
Yeah, I have my office at the Denham location. Our educator
Have you
there.
been to Denham?
I haven't yet.
Yeah,
Okay.
the educator there was the maintenance man,
Mm-hmm.
at Ethel, and then went to and just I watched him go through the transition process, we'll call it, and hearing those tapes
Mm-hmm.
because our offices are next door
Oh,
to
yeah,
each other, just
right.
I joked with him. I said, "Man, if black and white sounded like something, because I'm just hearing it in my office nonstop."
Yeah.
I'm like, that is the most old
Yeah,
sounding like
yeah,
I said.
yeah.
I'm just hearing the sound, but I'm visioning you're watching something in black and white
But
over there.
it's
You know?
color.
Yeah,
It's in
it
color.
was
Show me
just
Q-tip.
so.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
believe
it was,
most. Now
it was
look,
so man.
when I say color, right, it's that Activision type
Yes.
color where it's still got the squiggly lines
He's
going
using a
through the.
chalkboard and chalk.
Well, it used to be on VCR.
Yeah,
Y'all know what
VHS.
VCR
Do
is,
ya?
right? VHS,
Yes.
you know that. But then it's on little discs, came out with little
Yeah.
CDs, you know. But yeah, man, look, I watched the hell out of those. You know, I mean, and you know, we kind of go through the books and stuff too, right? The
Mhm.
Job and Q books, and it does just give you a different aspect and a different view and a different look at that as well. And I learned a lot from teaching it. You know?
Yeah, I think the you know, the education process, you know, understanding, you know, going to a lot of places and it was not
Mm,
broken down the way, you know, when you're a
yeah.
client there, you know, you come day 20, 25,
Mm,
60, day 60, you know, or I went through, you know, multiple times. So you start stacking them on top of each other and you're just like, man, this is so repetitive, you know, without maybe the understanding of why.
yeah.
You know, I need this beat into me. These first, you know, these first couple of things just beat into me. I guess let me ask you this. How is that as the person doing it though? Doing it over and over and over and over again. Like, do you have to go out of your way to make it for yourself?
Yes.
Continue to make it, you know, interesting so you don't feel like a robot. Like that.
I definitely try to. So I kind of taken on, and this is one of the greatest things I like about Woodlake is, you know, as long as you're getting results, they don't. It's like, hey man, do your thing.
Yeah.
You know, I've never been
They
like,
don't micromanage you.
just do your
Yeah.
thing, and as long as we're getting good feedback,
Mhm.
keep doing it.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I've there's times where I'll take an hour and we're gonna drill the steps,
Mm-hmm.
but then I'm gonna do a little motivational speaking in here, you know, and try to get these guys pumped up or the girls pumped up about recovery. You
Yeah.
know, I'll take some time to Q&A. Hey, today's Q&A or tomorrow's Q&A. I need 5 questions from, you know, I'll split them up in groups of 4.
Mm-hmm.
And each group of 4, y'all need 5 questions for tomorrow about recovery. Like this is your life on the line,
Yeah.
right? And if I don't have the answer, there's times I've called my sponsor in education. Hey man, I got this question here and I don't really know what to tell them. What do you got?
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of see the process of relying on someone else who's come before you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I do a little bit of that. We've done recovery Jeopardy in there.
Mhm.
You know, things that just kind of
Yeah.
change it up, you know, because it
Yeah.
does become monotonous for them and for me as well.
Yeah.
Always trying to never stray away from the meat and potatoes of the recovery dynamics,
Yeah.
but then just trying to, you know, man, laughter to me
Oh
is
yeah.
huge, you know. So if
Mhm.
I can get a group of 40 men, grown men, laughing,
Yeah.
it's like we're
You
doing
do the
something.
girls and the guys, or
Do
just
the
the
girls
guys?
and the guys, not
Yeah.
together.
Not together.
Yeah,
Okay.
they don't let us do it
Mhm.
together in Abbeville. So it's girls in the morning, guys in the evening
Okay.
or afternoon, and
So
then
you're doing 2 a day
I'm doing 2 a day,
for Tuesdays and Thursdays. You said.
Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday.
Watch yourself.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's yeah, that can be a lot, man. And in trying to like figure out how I'm
Yeah.
gonna break this up, because I get it. You know,
Yeah.
I was there too. You know what? That's like me, man. If whenever I went up and did it, and I had to do it at the Life Center, everybody would come in from the outside,
Yeah.
right? And so, of course, I'm always, thinking that people are, I'm always going to think people are judging me,
Of course.
right? And I'm always going to think the worst of what they think about me.
Yeah.
And so, I get up there. The first part of it is, I'm nervous, but I always try to get out that one little joke or one
Yes.
little. I'm a dad joke type of person,
All right.
where
Where
it's-
nobody laughs.
nobody laughs
Yeah,
but me.
yeah.
And then
But
so
that's enough.
I,
Now I'm
I laugh at
comfortable.
myself.
Settle in
So
yourself.
everybody's laughing at me, laughing at myself. So hey, as long
I do that a lot.
as long as I'm
Yeah,
getting them
it's perfect.
laughing, right? It's like story of my life, man. But yeah, that, and then after that, bro, it's just it's and then you just go with what you know, right? And
Yep.
I think another part of doing that, kind of like what you do, and Kevin and Donnell and Savannah, is the life experience part, right? Of sharing like the experiences that they had before recovery and those things, and the stories, man, the stories that you can relate, just like a clinician, right? As a clinician, you try not to use um your past experiences too much of recovery, because you want to get into that clinical side.
Yeah.
But in an education aspect, you really want to relate to them. So I would throw a little war story out there, and my most embarrassing moment or something like that, and look, like you said, like you used to be like this. I mean, it's hard to believe looking at me today
Oh yeah,
that
no
I
doubt.
used to be, right? But
I've seen the pictures.
yeah,
Yeah.
I got pictures too. I
You do.
remember
I
I got a whole coffee mug with
was
his.
my last intake from
What-
denim.
Yeah, maybe
Maybe
so.
or
I don't
Abbeville, I don't
know.
know.
So every
It was a white
year,
elephant gift.
so
Yeah,
I'll text him his intake
sitting on his
picture
desk.
on his birthday.
Hey, that's beautiful.
I was thinking, man, is that we talked a little bit about, man, the first time I went to Woodlake, being introduced to this, because I've gone to the state facilities back. You were talking about 2012, 2010, and there was no education. You're only like 12-step or really program. It was all like the CBT, cognitive behavioral. You met with a counselor. I've been to treatment centers where education in the afternoon, we watched intervention.
Yeah.
And I think the really great thing, the multifaceted way approach that Woodlake has is not just the cognitive behavioral, the therapy, the meet with your counselor, this and that, but the actual education.
Yep.
The introduction to a 12-step program. Because how many times do you leave treatment and they say, do this, 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 and this, and I have no idea what that.
Right.
I have no idea what that means. And to be able to work at a place that offers that variety. I remember, like I said, the first time I went to Woodlake was the first time somebody sat down and took and wrote some stuff on the board, and I said, "Oh man, that makes sense."
Well, I think that's the whole definition of the word education, right? Is educating you on something that you don't understand, right? And in order for me to understand it, I got to educate you,
Yeah.
right? And like where I went, it's kind of like the same thing. I didn't have education. They did like step studies, but it was somebody not in the program teaching a step, right? As a counselor, and granted, that's they can do that, but there was still not able to relate. So I'm not paying attention to them describing some steps and trying to educate me on that as much as I would with somebody who has the experience that I went through, right? That depth and weight type thing,
I want to ask you. Speaking of depth and weight, this is a good segue. We've talked about you as an educator. We've talked about you working in a treatment center, but I'd like to hear a little bit about you. And like you said, treatment in 2012, but obviously that didn't stick. But was that the first treatment center? Tell us a little bit about you, man. Like when did you start the treatment journey?
So 2012 was the first. November of 2012, I walked into Ethel.
Thanks for joining us for part 1 of Beyond the Struggle with Matt Corley. Thank you, man, for being here. Jeff, I guess, thanks for being here.
welcome.
It was a good one. It was so good we had to split it into 2 parts. Come back for part 2 next week. Do us a favor, like, subscribe. If we can get enough, we'll get Jeff out of here. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.